Thanks for joining us once again on Proline TV, our NASCAR coverage for Atlanta, the Quaker State 400. Thank goodness we have ourselves something different, a super speedway race following a very different race at Chicago, a 1.5 mile tri-oval, a lot better than we've been getting in previous weeks. So we'll take it as we had ourselves a first-time winner, Chase Briscoe. Picking up a win, another win for Toyota in 2026. CJ Radune, of course, joining me as always from rotowire.com. And I guess Toyota just keeps on rolling.
Yeah, Toyota definitely still has the advantage. Absolutely no question. Finished 1, 2, 3 in the hands of Joe Gibbs. Chase Briscoe finally getting his win. It seems like Hendrick and Chevrolets are starting to catch up, though. Byron led a ton of laps, but just not able over the long run to be able to maintain that track position and stay out front for the lead. We'll see what happens in Atlanta in the super speedway when you're racing in the draft. That tends to equalize equipment a little bit more. So maybe this is out of any week, maybe this is a week that Toyota can be beaten.
Okay, so we will take a look this week after a 1.5 mile race at Chicago. And I got to believe, too, that we talked last week about the possibilities of Chicago. You know, will they go back to the street race next year? And I would have to guess that one of the reasons is they sure didn't look like they spent a whole lot of additional money on trying to fix the track and get it ready for like a prolonged number of races. It kind of looked like it was like, all right, let's just race here for a year before we go back. That's what it kind of looked like. Because they were just filling up potholes and all sorts of stuff. And that was a bad look. The track did not look like it was in great shape, but sometimes that's good. And I think, again, all in all, it was a fine race. I think what happened was it got a little boring almost in the last stage when Briscoe took over. And then it finally got going again when you just couldn't tell whether Chris Bell was going to catch him. So there were moments of good racing. There were a few moments that was boring. But for the most part, again, I much prefer it over a street race. But I don't think they care about what we think.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Some exciting parts, definitely more competitive, I think, than we've seen historically at a lot of 1.5 mile ovals. So it made sense to go back there. The old concrete, or not concrete, the old pavement, I think is a good thing. We used to talk about Atlanta and its old pavement. We talk about Darlington and old pavement all the time. So I think that's good for the racing. I did read also that perhaps there's some speculation about having a marquee race on Amazon at the point when they produce or are showing the races, which could be San Diego, could be Chicago, could be something else. So I think that's why we're ultimately going to end up, or at least NASCAR is looking at potentially going back to the street course there in downtown Chicago.
Okay, so big win for Chase Briscoe. We'll see if that gets him going this week as we head on off to Atlanta. Echo Park Speedway. And really, the interesting thing about this racetrack going into the season was that Toyota really had not performed well here. And then finally, just like they've done everywhere else this season, they had a good race. And their driver won, Tyler Reddick. So once again, you know, Toyota is the manufacturer to beat. Even though Ford was really dominant the last 3 years at this track, they were okay in February, but they just weren't as dominant as Toyota kind of evened things out. Even Chevy was all right. So the domination of Ford at this track appears to be over. And taking a look at next-gen starting positions, you would expect it doesn't really matter where you start because over the 7 races, and I'm only going the last 7. We've had 2 pole sitters, and we've had starting positions of 15th or higher, 15th, 18th, 23rd, and 32nd that have won. And there's no practice. They don't practice at Atlanta, so we only have qualifying to go on. And therefore, even though I'll be around on Saturday night to let everybody know as usual what's going on after qualifying, I don't expect to make many changes based on it.
Yeah, amazingly enough, track position, despite the fact that this isn't Daytona or Talladega, it's more narrow, has a shorter lap. The starting position still doesn't really matter. Like you said, Christopher Bell won from the 32nd spot in the spring of 2025. You said Ford had dominated, and they did. They only won 2 races in that 3-year span, though, so back to 23. So another case of being out there dominating the races, but not being able to finish it off. And actually, if you look back at all of the stage winners from even this year's race all the way back to through 2023, you'll see that a Ford has won the first stage every single race, but yet they've only won 2 races overall. So very interesting to see how they do. Toyota with the breakthrough, only 2 Toyota wins at the track going all the way back to 2014, though. So definitely not a Toyota track until recently.
Okay, so let's take a look at the odds. Who do you think should be favored?
Well, it's a super speedway, so I would tend to lean toward Ryan Blaney.
Okay, let me see here. Okay, he is in the group. Who else is in the group?
Likely Denny Hamlin.
No.
Then
remember, Hamlin struggled here at Atlanta compared to Daytona and Talladega.
Yeah, William Byron and Tyler Reddick.
Close. So we've got Reddick, Blaney, and Elliott. Those are your top 3 at 9-1. Let's keep in mind what happened to Reddick in February. And that was the fact that, look, he had one of the best cars. There's no question about it. He led the most laps, but he was involved in a wreck. And somehow, and this is a good thing, somehow he found himself in 22nd place with 24 to go. And on these super speedways over these next gen races, that's usually a death nail. Well, it wasn't for him. And he was able to make his way back. Now, he did need 2 overtime restarts. And he also needed Bubba Wallace to be a dumbass and open up the lane on the bottom. And nobody understood why he just decided to fly up to the top and just open up the lane for Chase Briscoe to push Tyler Reddick to victory. But that's why you just can't count on Bubba Wallace. He does stupid things. He doesn't have the mind of a great driver. He's just a good driver, but he does stupid things at times. And that was a dumb thing. And it benefited Tyler Reddick, and he made that move all the way from outside the top 20 with 20 and so laps to go. So, but again, he had a really good car, which is the reason why he was able to make that move. But you kind of thought it was all over for him when he was involved in the wreck. Now, the car didn't get demolished, obviously. It's just that he was involved in the wreck. It was a big wreck. He was part of it, but he still found a way to get in there. And remember, that was early in the season when everything was going peachy cream for Tyler Reddick. Well, that's not the case right now. He's now in a rut, and every driver has him, and he is in it. And therefore, there is no way I'm taking Tyler Reddick to win 2 Atlanta races in the same season when his luck has kind of run out for now. Blaney, on the other hand, just continues to throw in top 10s. He's been a top 10 machine for the past few months. So you feel that he's like any one of these races, he's just ready to pounce for a victory, because you just can't be in the top 10 as much as he is without eventually figuring it out, winning a race. And Chase Elliott has been in the top 20 in every single next-gen race, all 8, including 4 top 10s and 2 wins. He was 11th last year, leading 11 laps, and led 41 laps in this race last year when he won. He's the defending champ.
Yeah, Reddick is definitely not the top choice this week. The rut that he is in is too big. Like you said, he kind of lucked into the win in February. He did have a damaged car. The fender wasn't there. It was surprising that he got to the lead and he was all the way back. But you're right, it took 2 overtime finishes, if I'm not mistaken, and some of the other top competitors to get taken out to cause those yellows in order for him to work his way forward again. So that definitely required a healthy dose of luck. Not to say that drivers don't create their own luck, because Reddick put himself in position and that's great and he won the race. But like you said, I don't think he's going to do it two races in a row at the same track, especially with the rut that he's in right now. Ryan Blaney, absolutely ready to get a win. Top 10s nonstop, it seems, recently. I want to say it's like the last 7 races, or at least since the All-Star race, something like that. He's finished in the top 10. So he is just absolutely maximizing his chances every time he gets in the car, despite the fact that Ford just can't compete with Toyota right now. But then you got Chase Elliott. It's his home track. He's won there twice. He's a defending winner of this race. He finished 11th in the spring. He led 11 laps in that race. He started 4th. So I do think he's a really strong choice. But for me, I would go with Ryan Blaney, just because I think William Byron, with the laps that he led, we'll talk to him about him eventually, with the laps that he led back in February, and the way that he was positioned throughout the race, I think just makes him a more compelling choice this week from the Hendrick camp, especially considering how well he raced last week.
Just want to pop up there and thank N. Madison for reposting the stream. So we appreciate that. That gives us a better chance to widen our audience, and we always appreciate that. Okay. Actually, where are we? Let me make sure I get, okay, let's go with the next 4. And there's Byron coming off the big race on Sunday, and he finally woke up. And we hadn't seen William Byron in a long time. And Byron, really, the race was decided on the last restart, the green flag restart, or pit stop, I should say, where Briscoe goes in first, Byron goes in second, and somehow that just ended up working for Briscoe. I guess they had a better pit stop, and he passed Byron, and Byron could never regain the lead. And again, Christopher Bell made a push late, but that was how it was won. So William Byron had a really good week last week. Keep in mind, he's got 2 next-gen wins, but they were early on in 2022 and 2023. And since that win, he's only led 8 laps. That's 5 races, 8 laps at Atlanta. Also keep in mind, he's only had 1 top 10 start ever in the next gen in Atlanta, starting 9th. So we'll take a look at that on Saturday. And his last 3 races, his finishes have been an average of 30.6 with 2 wrecks. So this has actually not been the greatest track for Byron lately. Larson, meanwhile, only has 1 top 10 in the next gen with 6 wrecks, including his wreck in February, which was stupid, when he wrecks SVG, almost wrecked SVG from having a great day, but he wrecked himself on the final stage, final lap, stage 2. Because at that point, he had led 48 laps and was doing really well. This is the problem. Kyle Larson is doing better on super speedways. We've been saying that, but the problem is he's still not a good super speedway racer because he does these stupid things. He does not, for whatever reason, know how to handle this car for the entire race and just always finds a way to do something stupid. His best shot was actually, I think it was 3 races ago when they had that caution under yellow on the last lap, when it was Hocevar, Bell, and Larson, and they were about to have this great three driver run at the end, and then a caution came out, and we couldn't see it, and Bell wound up winning. That would have been Larson's best chance, but then again, knowing Larson, he probably would have wrecked. Anyway, that's been the deal for Kyle Larson. He was 32nd in February overall after he wrecked. Then you have Logano, who has 2 wins in the next gen. He's led 9 or more laps in 8 of the 9, including 26 or more in his last 3. He was 18th this year from the 2nd position, led 26, but he's not a good fantasy driver. He is in the next gen minus 107 in positioning. But again, he is somebody capable of winning because we know with those laps how good he is on super speedways. Overall, it's been a bad year for Logano. And then you got Christopher Bell, who has actually been pretty good here lately. He's got 3 top 5s overall. He's got that win I mentioned under caution. He's only led 32 laps, though, in next gen. And he was wrecked by Hocevar earlier this year on the first overtime restart, when Hocevar tried to make it 3-man and it was only 2-man, and that wrecked Bell, or else he would have had another good finish over his last 3 races. He is a good fantasy driver. In his last 4, he's plus 62 positions, even though he doesn't lead a lot of laps. But I'd probably have to go Bell here for sure out of these 4 drivers.
Yeah, Bell is the top choice out of this bunch for sure. His best starting spot since 2023 was, well, he started 10th in the fall of 23, so throw that out. But his best start since then at Atlanta was 22nd. And he's got a top 5, a 4th place finish, as well as a 1st place finish as well. So I do think that he was in for the win at this track earlier this year before that crash and that tangle with Carson Hocevar there at the ends. Nobody's running better right now than Bell either. We talked about Blaney getting consistent top 10s, but Bell's putting himself in position. I think he's back-to-back runner-ups, and he's done like 3 or 4 or 5 of those so far this season too. So his time might be coming shortly as well. Don't let William Byron's finishing average, though, throw you off, because earlier this year in the race, like I said, I think he was doing really well. He qualified pretty average, but worked his way inside the top 5, finished 4th in the first stage, and then was 2nd in the second stage, and then ended up getting caught up in a late crash. And at super speedway races and in the draft, you've got to be inside the top 5 in the closing laps to be able to be there. And William Byron seemed to be able to put himself there until he was involved in that crash. So I think he's got a better chance than perhaps his statistics say, but still, without a doubt, Christopher Bell out of this group is the one that you want to go with.
Okay, next foursome, 16 and 18 to 1 drivers. There's Denny Hamlin. And once again, you get a lesson in why it's very difficult to take drivers, heavy favorite drivers, the unknown in Chicago and all that. And Denny Hamlin was fine. He led laps, but he was not anywhere near a dominant driver on Sunday at Chicago. And so, unfortunately, you were not able to take advantage of Denny Hamlin if you bet him or put him in fantasy. He only has 1 win way back in 2012 in Atlanta, 2 top 10s in next gen, 13th this year. He led 10 laps. He actually, if you take a look at it, though, check this out. He's got a 34th position average starting lineup in his last 4 races, 34th at Atlanta in his last 4 races. Now, that's actually good for fantasy because he's gained 61 spots in those 4 races. So I would look at Denny Hamlin in that position. I think if he starts way back again, I think, hey, take a look at him in fantasy. You might not, you may be able to get a decent price on him. We'll find out, obviously, on Saturday. But I don't know. I just think Denny's had such a great run. This has just not been a great track for him, so I'm going to pass. Hocevar, though, has been very interesting. I just mentioned how he wrecked Bell earlier this year. Well, and then you mentioned that 3-driver race at the end of the caution three races ago. So in the last 3 races, Hocevar has been right there in the middle of it at the front with a chance to win on the final lap and hasn't been able to get it done. His last 3 finishes at Atlanta are 4th, 10th, and 2nd. And he was in 4th place in the overtime restart earlier this year. And he's really good in fantasy. 87 positions he's gained in fantasy over in next gen, even though he has only led just 3 laps. So you have to keep that in mind. There's Briscoe, who actually was 2nd in February, leading 27 laps. He was not good ever at Atlanta until then. So you got to keep that in mind. Plus, he's coming off the victory last week. And then Keselowski, who has a couple of wins way back here at Atlanta, looked like he was going to finally get things going after a good Saturday. And then as soon as the race started, he disappeared. It just, where'd he go? So I don't know what's going on with Keselowski. There's no way I could take him again this week. I think Hocevar, to me, is the clear choice out of these four.
Yeah, I would absolutely put Carson Hocevar at the top. Remember his first series win came earlier this year, and it was at Talladega too. So obviously learned something out of all these super speedway races, and he was able to get the job done at Talladega. So if he's in position at the end at Atlanta again for the fourth race in a row, I could see Carson Hocevar actually making the right moves and getting a second win. So I think this is a good week to take Carson Hocevar. I would put Chase Briscoe second. I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that he won last week because he had been on an upward swing for quite some time. It was just a matter of time before he got the breakthrough and came through for the win. We saw Tyler Reddick do it. We saw Denny Hamlin do it this year. Briscoe's in Joe Gibbs' car again, and you saw his complete turnaround at Atlanta earlier this year in that Joe Gibbs car. So I wouldn't put it past him, but I think Hocevar is a clear favorite here. Hamlin would be third, and I wouldn't go with Keselowski for all the reasons that you said. Just not getting it together, and the team seems to be unable to figure out how to make things work for him.
Okay, these are the next four drivers, and interesting drivers here with better odds. Austin Cindric is definitely someone you want to consider. He has 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s in 9 next-gen races. He had a good car in February. He's led 10 or more laps in his last 6 races at Atlanta. That equals 214 laps he's led in his last 6 races at Atlanta. This year, even though he had a bad finish of 26, he led 21 before he was involved in a wreck. Not a great fantasy driver, though, if he starts in the top 10. So you got to keep that in mind. So if he's outside the top 10, I'd probably jump all over him, even though I wonder if his price might be a little steep. But I think the good thing is recently we've seen Cindric up with the big boys, 10-1, 12-1 at these racetracks. So you are getting 18-1. So I think you're getting decent value here. And then you've got the rest. Chris Buescher, forget it, not interested. He shouldn't be 20-1. I don't know why he's that low. He's done nothing at this track, really. I know he's got a few top 10s, but I just think that's just luck. And we know he's good at this type of racing, but not at Atlanta. Has not worked out for him at Atlanta. Wallace, meanwhile, it's interesting. He's got 3 top 10s in his last 5, but they've all been in the February races. I don't know what that's about. In his last 3 July finishes in Atlanta, he's finished 22nd, 29th, and 25th. So I don't know what that is. Anyway, again, he was right there, had control of the race in February. He should have won the race, and he choked. So whatever you want to put, feel about that. I don't know if you bet him, if you did, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, he led 46 laps in the race this year, finishing 8th. Then you have Chastain, who I think is the interesting one here. You're getting 25-1. He has 5 top 10s out of 9 next gens. 3 of those are top 5s. 2 of those are runner-ups, even though those runner-ups happened the very first 2 races he raced here in 2022. But he was 3rd in February from the 21st position, and he's a very good fantasy driver here, gaining 68 positions in the next-gen era with 117 laps led.
Ross Chastain, very similar to Bubba Wallace in that he seems to do better in the spring races as well. I would say the difference between Chastain and Wallace, though, would be qualifying. So if Wallace qualifies outside of the top 20, it's likely that he's going to finish outside the top 20. If he's able to put it in the top 15, even the teens somewhere, I think he's got a much better chance of finishing in the top 10 and being able to break that fall curse at Atlanta for him. Very good performance in February, just didn't make the right move again in the closing laps and ended up losing a race yet again. But that's why we're getting 20-1 here on him. I do think Austin Cindric is a pretty good bet to go with. If you think Ford can pick up the pace and actually challenge for the win, when I talked about the Fords winning the first stage all the way back through 2023, most of them were by Austin Cindric. So he seems to start well, just needs to figure out how to finish out the race. If he can do that, I think he'd be in for a shout at the win. He's led laps every single race, every single time he's been here since 2022. So I think Austin Cindric is a very good choice. Wallace, I would just wait to see where he qualifies, though.
Yeah, I mean, is it weather? Is that something that could be a reason why?
Yeah, it's definitely
drivers just.
Yeah, it's definitely hotter, more slippery in this fall race than it is in the beginning of the year. In February, earlier this year, I want to say the temperature was like 39. So extremely cold in the spring races. When you get there, this has always been a pretty early race. And then when you get to the fall, you're really talking about late summer. Obviously, it gets very hot and humid, so completely different conditions.
Okay. All right. Now, we start getting to some more long shots. Ricky Stenhouse is a good one at 25-1. He's got 4 top 10s in his last 6 races at Atlanta. Even though he's only led 2 laps in those races, he was 36th earlier this year. But he's always a good long shot bet on these racetracks. Then you have Ty Gibbs, only 2 top 10s in his career. And he was 37th earlier this year. Keep in mind, he's only had 1 top 15 start in his career at Atlanta. So we'll see what he does on Saturday. That could be an impact. He was also 50-1 in February. Here he's 30-1. Shane Van Gisbergen, who was 65-1 in February, is 35-1. And we know why. He had a good car, the best drive he's had in a non-road course race until he got mixed up with Kyle Larson. He still finished 6th from the 28th position. So keep that in mind. And then you have Alex Bowman, another interesting long shot with 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s in the Next Gen Series. Those top 5s have occurred in the last 4 races. He was 23rd this year, though. And in last year's race, he was 3rd and led 32 laps.
Bowman is the opposite of Chastain and Wallace. Bowman seems to be able to get it done in the fall. Last fall, he finished 3rd. The prior fall in 24, he finished 5th. Led 32 laps last year, 5 laps the year before, had a really good run last week. So Bowman, another one definitely to think about here. We'll see if lightning strikes twice for SVG. He's got a little beef going with Austin Hill, and we know how good Austin Hill is on super speedways. So I wouldn't be surprised if SVG finds it harder this week to finish in the top 10 with the enemy of Austin Hill out there trying to hold him back. Ty Gibbs, not much to speak of, 2 top 10s, 2 crashes. He did lead 32 laps and 37 laps in the fall races in 24 and 25. So he's another one that might be able to, if he can find a way to get to the finish and survive all the way, might be one that could be in there for the top 10 as well.
All right. Now we've got the other 4 here. The only one I think is worth talking about is Daniel Suarez at 40-1. 6 top 10s out of 9 next gen. 5 of those are top 5s. 2 of those are runner-ups. He's got the win in 2024. He has only led 31 laps, so keep that in mind. And he was 5th earlier this year from the 12th position. Has not led a lap in his last 3 races at Atlanta. But he's a good fantasy driver. He's a good long shot at 40-1. He's gained 78 positions in the next gen. The only thing you have to concern yourself with are the laps situation. But yeah, really good long shot play, and someone that you might be able to get a good bargain with your fantasy lineup later this week.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez is a very good choice. Obviously, Wisfire, they've been pushing Hocevar up front. They've delivered really good super speedway packages, have for several years, and this year's just seems to be able to be even better for the drivers. So you got Hocevar winning at Talladega, Suarez, past winner on super speedways as well. Don't forget Austin Hill, just mentioned him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 O'Reilly Series wins at Atlanta in his career, and just one of the best up and coming drivers in super speedway racing. So it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do. We know that Richard Childress cars aren't exactly the best right now. I think he'll punch above his weight this weekend. Probably a good fantasy driver to throw in there. And maybe if you want to throw $1 or 2 on him with those odds, probably wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Yeah, especially depending on what he does on Saturday. Yeah. And considering you're not going to get a change as far as the price for the driver, just because what he does on Saturday, you're definitely going to hope for a good Saturday qualifying session. And you're still going to get a good number as far as, your salary cap is concerned. So that's the only thing we have yet to see from him, though. I know it's early, but we haven't seen that O'Reilly guy on these types of racetracks in the Cup Series. Not sure why, but hey, it happens sometimes like that. I remember we used to scratch our heads about Martin Truex Jr. for a long time and say, how come he's not translating in the super speedways in the Cup Series? He used to be so good in the O'Reilly series. But so what happens? Different car, different everything. Okay. The only other driver I think is worth talking about as we run through the long shots here is this one at the top again, and that's Zane Smith. Somebody needs to talk to him, though. He needs to take a chill pill. He's been a little over aggressive lately. I don't know what's up with that, but he's getting himself into some trouble that he doesn't need to be getting himself into. So I don't know. But anyway, he's definitely the one to keep an eye on because in his last 3 races at Atlanta, he's finished 7th, 7th, and 11th. And he started in the top 10 in all 3 races. Not a lot of laps led, though, but I got to imagine he's going to be a really good bargain play and just a guarantee that he's got to be someone to look at. He had another strong opportunity in February, just hasn't been able to close the deal. So we both know he's going to close the deal sometime soon, not necessarily at a super speedway, but anywhere. And just don't know when.
I think Zane Smith is a driver that could win anywhere. It doesn't have to be a super speedway. It doesn't have to be a road course, whatever. Just looking at his last 3 races at Atlanta, his average start was 7th and his average finish was 8th. Led 6 laps over those 3 races, and he's not in the best equipment. So Zane Smith absolutely getting the job done, absolutely worth your attention. And I think he's a pretty decent play this week, especially when you can go with some long shots that ultimately doesn't matter where they start or what they do on Saturday.
Any of these other long shots that interest you?
Probably not, to be honest with you. Noah Gragson would be one that I would talk about, but he's just had such a bad year. Absolutely nothing seems to be going his way. So maybe a John Hunter Nemechek. Eric Jones is sitting 16th in the standings right now. So actually within grasping distance of a spot in the chase for them, which is great. So maybe we see him and that team step up a little bit more and start asking for some more points each week.
Okay, it's time to go to our picks, and we were fortunate. We got ourselves a win on Sunday. Actually, it was our 2 drivers battling it out on Sunday. CJ's second pick, Christopher Bell, against my second pick, Chase Briscoe, and of course, CJ after the race just had to say, "Of course." So anyway, but. Again, remember the way our system is, once one of us takes a driver, the other person cannot take the same driver. So many times we'll steal one of our drivers. And so that's the reason we combine the picks. And we are right now at plus 1550 for the season. We invest $100 each. We have 3 picks ranging from $60 to $30 to $10 for the 3 drivers we select each week. And these are the only races which we did not get wins. And these were all of the races we did. So let's see if we can go ahead and get another victory. CJ, you go first.
It's a super speedway. Even though Ford hasn't been all that strong, Ryan Blaney is strong, and it's a super speedway. So I'm going Ryan Blaney.
Okay. I'll make it quick. I'll go Christopher Bell.
He would have been my top choice had I selected second and you went with Ryan Blaney. So
yeah, I might have gone Blaney too. So we probably got the same drivers.
Most likely. So this one becomes a little bit more difficult trying to decide how far back to reach. I'll go farther back than I otherwise would have. I will go with Carson Hocevar as my second choice.
Okay, Carson Hocevar. Yeah, not going to be able to get the big number. What was he when he won his race? 25-1 when he won his race at Talladega that we hit as a long shot. He's now 16-1, but still not bad. Okay, I will go with Cindric.
Good choice. I will take Wallace as my line.
Oh, okay. Bubba. Yeah, Cindric is actually, what is he? He's now got 4 top 15s in his last 5 races. And he's right there on the cutoff line as well, battling for a playoff spot. Okay. To me, it'll be down to Bowman, Suarez, or Zane Smith. I will go ahead and take Zane Smith.
As I would have.
I'm just going to keep taking Zane Smith as much as I can because I don't want to. I do not want him winning when we don't pick him.
He's going to win at some point.
So, okay, there you go. That is Atlanta. Unfortunately for CJ and I, it's not going to get much better than this for a while. I don't know how you guys think, but we've got next week is North Wilkesboro.
Another Sunday night race.
Yeah, that's right. That's the other thing. This is going to be 3 straight Sunday night races. And I really wish somebody would explain to me why they're doing that. Do you have any idea?
No clue. They're going up against the World Cup. I just don't get it. Feels like all the reason in the world why they should be mid-afternoon again, but I don't know. So we don't have another. We have an afternoon race, I guess, in Iowa when we get there, and then we have finally the first Saturday night race at Richmond mid-August. So that's what they should be doing more frequently, are Saturday night races.
Okay, so I asked AI why are they racing on Sunday nights? Says to maximize television viewership in prime time and to protect fans and drivers from extreme daytime summer heat.
No.
Sunday evenings capture casual audiences who are home and settled after the weekend.
And watching
night conditions make physically grueling tracks much cooler and safer.
Not so sure I agree with AI.
Yeah, just because they answer it doesn't mean we have to agree with them. Yeah, so North Wilkesboro at night. And then after that, we've got the Brickyard, which is always a snooze fest. And then Iowa, which doesn't get much better. Richmond, which can be pretty boring. New Hampshire, likewise.
Terrible.
And then finally, we get to Daytona, which is the last race before the playoffs start. So we got, after this week, we will have 5 races that at least the only thing we can say is they're not road course races.
I guess we have to
say that.
I'm looking forward to a Saturday night race, even though it is at Richmond. Yeah, those can be snooze fests. Indy is always, usually, I should say, tiresome. New Hampshire, I seem to recall last year New Hampshire was better than expected, but maybe that was because I had such low expectations. That track has just been awful.
That was last year?
I think so. But yeah, really just looking forward to Daytona. Unfortunately, that's the end of the regular season and kicks the chase off Darlington the following week.
Let's see what my notes. Who won that race? That was Bell. No, Bell won in 2024. Who won? How many races have there been at New Hampshire now? Just one a year?
There was 2, but yeah, more recently they switched it to 1. Let me see if I can bring it up.
New Hampshire, NHA. Yeah, last year. Trying to remember what my notes. Blaney won. And
why it was more exciting. Yep, Brian Blaney. Bell won the year before.
Let's see. My notes. Blaney was the best car all weekend. Josh Berry, who's completely disappeared, was a close second. Logano was a close third. Yeah, I don't have much other notes there. I'm not saying the race sucked or it was great, so I don't know.
Oh, I
But
see.
you remember it was okay?
There were a lot of cautions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cautions for accidents. That's what made it interesting. So broke up the long runs on an otherwise flat and processional race. So just the cautions and the accidents were what made it interesting for me, or at least from my point of view, rather than just the boring parade, single file as it tends to be.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you need. If you think there's going to be a driver or two that's going to just dominate the race, bring out the cautions.
Mystery
Make
caution.
things, yeah, as long as of course it's not a driver I bet. But okay, that wraps it up. We'll see everybody. I'll see everybody on Saturday night again, and we'll find out. There are some drivers to keep an eye on regarding qualifying and how that could impact our analysis on their Sunday night race. So again, at Saturday night, I'll have a link in the description of the video that day for CJ's report at rotowire.com, his DFS race report, which comes out every Friday. Link in the description of this video right now. You can go ahead and bookmark it and check it out every Friday. If you want to wait to Saturday, you can do that. I'll have the updated link, and you go directly to his race page and find out what he has to say regarding the race on Sunday night. So that'll do it. We'll see everybody next Tuesday when we talk about North freaking Wilkesboro and a Sunday night race. I hope everybody in North Wilkesboro is happy that they have a race, but it is what it is. So we'll see everybody real soon. Don't forget to subscribe and all that fun stuff, and have a great week, everybody. CJ?